Then we should pass voter ID. We should pass no mail-in voting. We should pass all the things that we want to pass, make our elections secure and safe, because California is a disaster. Many of the states are disasters.
Welcome to the Dollemore Daily. If you are new here, I am Jesse Dollemore. Yesterday was a wonderful day for Democrats and for the nation at large because of the results of the election, which ended up being a brutal defeat for Republicans, as was expected. However, in some of the races, it was the margin of victory for the Democrat was more than expected. For instance, in the race of Mikey Sherrill, the former Navy helicopter pilot, versus the Trump-endorsed Jack Ciattarelli, that was a neck-and-neck toss-up kind of a race, and Mikey Sherrill ran away with it. Absolutely a referendum on the unhappiness of Americans with what Donald Trump is doing to the country. Without a doubt, that's what played a role. There are several clips of exit polls of journalists talking to voters, and they were like, yeah, I voted for Trump 3 times and no more. Now, we can analyze later, and I mean later, what goes on in someone's mind that doesn't look at the facts on the ground, doesn't deal with reality on reality's terms, and make decisions based on that relative to Donald Trump and the deleterious effects of his policies and all of the fascistic ideas that he wants to bring to bear on America. We can do that later. Donald Trump is beside himself with grief. He is admitting defeat in a speech this morning at the White House, where he maybe has never looked worse in the role as president of the United States. And I don't mean looking worse in a metaphorical way. I mean, he looks tired and beaten and broken. And he admits as much in the clips I'm getting ready to play for you. In this first one, it's pretty much just self-soothing. Look, I know it's petty, but not necessarily when we're dealing with someone who wants to destroy the country. It typically is petty when you delight in someone's grief or misfortune. I'm okay with that in the case of Donald Trump, because I am here sitting delighted at his misfortune.
Thank you. Thank you very much. That was quite a formal entrance. I thought we were just going to sit down and talk a little bit. We talk about exactly 1 year ago we had that big, beautiful victory. Exactly 1 year. And last night it was, not expected to be a victory. It was very Democrat areas, but I don't think it was good for Republicans. I don't think it was good. I'm not sure it was good for anybody. But we had an interesting evening and we learned a lot. And we're going to talk about that, and I'll say a few remarks, and then after that I'll ask the press to leave.
That's a message of defeat, total defeat. He's not hedging. He's not making, well, on the other hand, or look on the bright side. None of that. It's just self-soothing. Looking back, remember 1 year ago today, the wonderful victory. We won. It was so good. Yeah, but what have you done for me lately, Donald Trump? That's what Republicans should be saying. Because it's absolutely a direct result, this loss, this overwhelming shellacking at the polls in New Jersey, in Virginia, and in the city of New York, not to mention Prop 50 in California, which is a direct result of the gerrymandering effort in Texas. All across the board, it was a defeat for Donald Trump. So what's the plan going forward? What does tired grandpa have to say? He's ordering the United States Senate to end the filibuster. And before I play this clip, this brief clip, I want to remind everybody of all the people who were like, we can't end the filibuster because then if we do, the Republicans will do all this stuff. As though Republicans need permission or an excuse to try to destroy voting rights, for instance, which is what this is about. He's ordering them to end the filibuster so that they can set their attention to more diminishment of voting rights in this country, more oppression at the polls. Watch Donald Trump lay out the marching orders for the United States Senate.
It's time for Republicans to do what they have to do, and that's terminate the filibuster. It's the only way you can do it. And if you don't terminate the filibuster, you'll be bad shape. We won't pass any legislation. There'll be no legislation passed for 3.25. We have 3.25 years, so that's a long time. But when they can't do an extension, and John, I think they've done an extension every single time they've ever been asked forever. This is the first time they haven't done an extension. Extensions are supposed to be easy, but if they won't do an extension, they won't do any bill, even a simple bill. And we should do our own bills. We should get out. We should do our own bills. We should open up. We should start tonight with the country's open. Congratulations. Then we should pass voter ID. We should pass no mail-in voting. We should pass all the things that we want to pass, make our elections secure and safe, because California is a disaster. Many of the states are disasters. But can you imagine when they vote almost unanimously against voter ID? All we want is voter ID. You go to a grocery store, you have to give ID. You go to a gas station, you give ID. But for voting, they want no voter ID. That's only for one reason, because they cheat. We would pass that in 15 minutes. If you don't get it, you'll never pass that. You'll never talk about mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots make it automatically corrupt. If you have mail-in ballots, automatically it's correct.
This is why we need every single elected Democrat in fighting mode, in resistance mode. We need to stop voting for Donald Trump's nominees, whether they be for the judiciary or for his cabinet. Stop. Stop advancing the agenda of Donald Trump. Are you listening, Cory Booker? Are you listening, Alyssa Slotkin? Do you hear me, Adam Schiff? There is no point in voting yes on a Donald Trump nominee, because a Donald Trump nominee will advance his agenda. A Donald Trump nominee will make his job easier. And when his job is to destroy, to disregard the Constitution while destroying the country, the safeguards of our democracy, you don't want to be a part of that, do you? This meeting, this dinner, this breakfast, whatever this was this morning that just took place a couple of hours ago, ended with Grandpa story time, where Donald Trump is waxing nostalgic about his meeting with Xi Jinping of China, witnessing the cabinet of the president of China, witnessing his J.D. Vance's counterpart, the vice president type figure of China. And Donald Trump is not satisfied with the obsequiousness of his cabinet. They don't slather him up with enough praise. He wants more. And in this jokey type story, he expresses that.
When President Xi, who's really a friend of mine, as much as he can be a friend, he's a tough man. He's a tough man. Smart man, actually. Very smart. The press doesn't like it when I call him very smart. You know, they think I'm not supposed to call him smart. But he leads 1.4 billion people without question. In fact, during the meeting, we were there. A couple of you were there, and some of you saw it. So he's here, and he's got about 6 people on each side, and every one of those people was standing like this. They were at attention. And I made a comment to one of them, and I got no response. I said, "Are you going to answer me?" I got no response. And President Xi didn't let him have any. So if there's any question, I said, I want my cabinet to behave like that. That's the way. I'm demanding that I want them sitting up like that, Tim, just nice and straight. I never saw posture like that. I've never seen men so scared in their lives. They have the equivalent of a vice president. He was. I said, "Are you going to answer my question?" And he's like, he doesn't move. I said, "What's wrong with this guy?" "I will answer all questions." Why don't you behave like that? JD doesn't behave like that. JD buds into conversations. I want to have that for at least a couple of days, okay, JD? We'll keep you long term, but a couple of days of that would be very, very nice. Okay, I want to thank you, and we'll talk a little bit. And I see they set me up with a podium. I thought I'd just be sitting, but it's probably easier.
Yikes. Now, look, the reason I played this, because it doesn't really have anything to do with elections, right? It doesn't have anything to do with his self-soothing. It doesn't have anything to do with him ordering the United States Senate to end the filibuster. Ordering them to change their own rules has nothing to do with that, but it does. Because if Donald Trump gets his way relative to the degradation of our democracy, he will end up being a Xi Jinping type figure. He will be in a position to demand obsequious love and adulation from his cabinet and his citizenry, his subjects. So wake up. Not only wake up Democrats, corporate, middle-of-the-road, milquetoast Democrats. Wake up Republicans. You are selling yourself out for billionaires and oligarchs in our country, for Donald Trump. And it needs to come to an end. For once in your life, for once in your political career, stand up for yourself. If not for the country, do it for your own dignity and self-respect and legacy. What do you think out there? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video, wherever you're watching it. Make sure you're subscribed or liked and following the Facebook page. All of those things go a long way. We appreciate it very much. You can also call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily at dollemore.com. I love and appreciate you very much. I will see you next time. Until then, be genuine and take care of one another. The headlines obviously talked about the passing of Trump's big, beautiful bill. But did you catch what the headlines did not make note of? This same beautiful bill hands over nearly $40 billion of our tax dollars to ICE per year. This is more money than most countries spend on their entire military. And we're granting it to our version of the secret police. Despite raids on the increase and Trump's near constant mention of deporting U.S. citizens, much of our mainstream media has avoided talking about this funding increase. Or worse, they have twisted the bill's language to frame this spending as good for the citizens of the United States. This should be the biggest story in America right now, and it's not. And look, you'd be naive to think that this is anything other than by design from the GOP. Tools like ground news are an essential part of your news consumption for examples just like this. By gathering the world's news in one place, organizing it by story, and then analyzing just how far right, how radical each unbiased source actually is, ground news will expose blind spots like this ICE funding, and it will give you more context than you can get anywhere else. Shouldn't we be learning from history? We have seen Trump's playbook before, and the comparisons to regimes of misinformation and terror are alarmingly plentiful. Ground news will help you stay ahead on immigration, the economy, or simply bring your attention to stories missing from your newsfeed. Both Ground News' app and their website are smarter, more reliable ways to access the news unfiltered, to stay informed in the face of MAGA wanting to keep us in the dark. Scan this QR code or head to ground.news/Dollemore now to score 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use, which gives you unlimited access for just $5 per month. Or simply click the link in the description below to begin saving big. The right is absolutely banking on you to be uninformed. Stay ahead and see all the news with Ground News.